Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the kind introduction. Antares is a greenfields exploration company for copper and uranium in the north of Queensland, north of Mount Isa. As Chrissy said, I'll be trying to explain why we're in uranium in Queensland by going through a little bit of history, and then hopefully it all makes sense to you. So please make sure to read that carefully. That is our board. The people are as important as the projects. The board has a proven track record of success. I'm a geologist as well, also have a proven track record of success, also, or not as well known perhaps as the board members. My exploration manager is an important part of the team. He worked for Paladin at Valhalla and in the area, so he knows the mineralization style in the area very well, very important to me. As a snapshot, we're a $4 million company, had 1.4 in the bank at the last quarter, and management holds about 4% of the company. Those are our projects. We hold about 2,000 square kilometers north of Mount Isa. Prospective for everything really, but copper, gold, uranium especially. On the uranium front, we surround Valhalla, which is Australia's third largest uranium deposit. And the geology that makes Valhalla what it is abounds into our tenure, which gives us great prospectivity. I will mention some copper, but I won't spend time on it. On the east, surprise, we started our campaign drilling that. We've drilled it twice. We identified or intersected some great results, 11 meters at 2%, 4 meters at 4%, etc. We also proven some extensions, but we've chosen to park that while we focus on uranium. And then lastly, just Conglomerate Creek is an intrusion-related target, which is about 200 or so meters deep. It's got 7 high prospectivity targets just above it, and we've done some work on surface and found some copper of up to 22% copper, 7.5 gram gold, 430 ppm silver, all at surface along structures that bleed into or tap into the intrusion. So fantastic grades. The reason for mentioning that is that the world's biggest uranium deposit resource is associated with an IOCG style deposit in South Australia. This one has never been drilled. We plan to do it very early next year. So my message there is watch this space. Now we move into uranium. Why uranium? It has a pretty negative connotation depending on who you speak to. So if you had a conversation on the street with somebody, that conversation would easily lead into uranium versus, or nuclear versus solar versus wind. And it would, argue who kills less birds and who's more profitable, etc. But in reality, I think uranium has some significantly more better fundamentals, and that conversation is quite irrelevant. And this is where the history lesson starts. So it was discovered in the late 1700s. Its radioactivity was discovered in late 1800s. But the world first took notice in 1945 when a uranium-fueled event destroyed a city in a second and finished or ended a world war. And the propaganda and the imagery that followed that was seared into the minds of the people. And as far as first impressions go, which my mum tells me very, very important, this one was a doozy. Even today, when we watch movies that are about post-apocalyptic events, that event is most of the time a nuclear event. And if it's not that, it's zombies. But we shouldn't worry, because Arnold Schwarzenegger will always be there to protect us. In addition to that, we also had the powers that watched this event unfold realize the immense power encaptured in this metal, and therefore realized that controlling the narrative behind nuclear armament was crucial. And there we have the start of the Cold War, which started after the Second World War, only ended in 1991. Cuban Missile Crisis in '62 brought us close to the end, I suppose. And all of this up to now is all negative. And I think because of what's happened, it's easy to understand why there's fear regarding uranium. But fortunately, there are clever people on this planet, like the previous person presenting. And somebody thought, well, if there's so much energy to be released in one instant, what about if we control this? So in 1951, the USA produced the first electricity from nuclear fission. In 1954, Russia had to one-up them, and at Obninsk connected the first nuclear power plant to the grid. And all of a sudden, there was positivity, and the world realized that this previously thought destructive power can also be used for good. And between the 50s, 60s, up to the 80s, 600 nuclear power reactors were built. You can see from the map there, the USA was by far and away the leader. But the reality is everybody that could afford one built one. You can see Europe is full of them. Japan has got a lot. India's got some. Interesting note, China has only got one. Then, with great power comes, as Spider-Man tells us, great responsibility. In 1979, 3 Mile Island, there were a few other incidents, of course, but in 3 Mile Island sort of gave the industry a bit of a black eye. And in 68, Chernobyl reminded the world of that first impression. And after 86, 87 to 2000, only 60 new reactors were constructed. And the big thing I'd like to show there is where. All of a sudden, it's only in the East. The West have decided we won't be building these anymore. But in 2000, we realized that we'd punched a hole in the ozone layer. We realized the place was getting warmer. The people in Marble Bar will contest this. But we realized that we needed to do something different. We needed to go green, and green became a verb all of a sudden. So after 2001 to 2011, we built 64 new nuclear power reactors, which is an increase, quite a substantial increase over the previous season. In 2011, Fukushima is a big hiccup, and it really hurts the uranium industry. But the nuclear power industry does something interesting. It doesn't slow down at all. As a matter of fact, after 2012 to today, there's 91 nuclear power reactors that have started construction, which is just over 7 per year. And again, if you look at the map, you can see where they are built. You can see where countries are sort of putting faith in the ability of nuclear energy to provide electricity to the grid. Now, we've heard many people speak about the rising need for electricity and power. I won't mention that again, but I will say, as has also been mentioned many, many times today, in the next 15 years, there's about 170, give or take, reactors planned to come online, which again speaks to the volume of uranium that's required, and it speaks to the supply and demand deficit, which gives the fundamentals for our uranium boom time coming, I will call it, for us being so bullish on the fact that uranium is the right metal to be a part of. So now, hopefully you can understand why uranium is something that Antares believes is important, and why we've chosen to go into projects with copper and uranium, because the one produces the electricity and the other one gets it to your house. If you now take out to the street and you go and have that discussion with the same bloke, then you might say that arguing which of those power generating methods is the best is completely irrelevant. Realistically, because of the power demand of the planet, we need all of them, and we need more of them. So it shouldn't be get rid of coal and it's nuclear versus this, nuclear that. It should be nuclear plus solar, plus wind, plus any other method we can get, because this world needs electricity. It needs power, and it needs it yesterday. So just focus on uranium, is what I'm saying, if this is the commodity that you've chosen. I get to our portfolio at last. We have, as I said, 2,000 square kilometers north of Mount Isa. We surround the Valhalla project from Paladin. The geology that makes that, it is a albitite-style uranium deposit, so structure is important. Albitite and so on is crucial to it. So all of the geology that makes that recipe abounds in our project tenure. The map there on the right shows you the sort of darker colored areas. Yes, if you can see them. That's the areas where uranium prospectivity is at its highest. We did a prospectivity review in February by a consultant with 40 years experience, and he said we've got 40, or gave us 49 targets, very high prospectivity, but I can't focus on 49 at once. So we're starting with a few, but we've got geologists in the field kicking rocks at all of them. The Queen's Gift project in the north there, I'll speak about a little bit more. That's a small JORC 2004 resource. It's drill ready. Deep Yellow drilled it in 2011, and we plan to go back there and drill it some more this year and convert the resource into a 2012 resource so that next year we can build on it. This is just a snapshot of the prospects, or the other prospects on our ground. Queen's Gift. You can see the grade of these rock and drill samples. Drilling of 3,500 ppm, U3O8 almost. The rock samples 2.5%. the rock samples on the east there, I will change those names, by the way, Agap 3, B8A, etc. Once we have enough work to give them a real classification, we'll give them some real names. But look at the grade that we find there at surface. And all of this is within the same, call it geological recipe, as we see at Valhalla. So very high prospectivity, very high likelihood of success, in my view. And recently, last week, we released results at the Skevi target. Now, this isn't work that we did. It was drilled in 2012 and 13 by Regal Point Resources. But they, obviously, after Fukushima, the market tanked a little, so they walked away after that. But what this represents is just another example of work that was done in this Mount Isa region on uranium and left because the market just wasn't there. Most of this is undercover. The radiometric anomaly here is very, very subdued because it doesn't really outcrop. The blue lines there are all from underground drill intersects. Some of the intersections are pretty good. Some of them are quite low, but the key is it extends for 1.2 kilometers almost underground, under the colluvial cover there. And it's a target for us. So being a greenfields explorer, this is what we do. We walk the ground, we break the rocks, we drill the holes, and then we find resources. I suppose the final question here is Queensland. Why would we explore in Queensland if that state doesn't allow for mining? And similar to here in WA, the winds are shifting. Recently in July, Laramide was given a license to start to advance their Westmoreland project in the northwest of Queensland. It's not a mining license, it's not something that gives them operational opportunities, but they do have permission sort of to go and advance it to the point where they can do a mine license application, which is a huge improvement as far as I'm concerned. And 2 weeks ago, I received an email saying that the Queensland government is keen to start discussions with industry about uranium exploration and mining. Again, it shows me that although the regulations are what they are, or the moratoriums are what they are right now, the government themselves are considering a change and they are approaching industry to make it happen. So right now, without overcapitalizing in Queensland, the time is now to ready all projects to make them so that when this legislation changes, because it will change, we're all ready to capitalize. And we can turn WA and we can turn Queensland into leaders in the uranium industry. Not secondary to the Northern Territory or to South Australia, but equal at least, if not better, considering the endowment. So things are changing, and I think they are very positive. Antares is a small, young company in this space, but I urge you to follow us. And thank you very much for the support and for the time.